speaking of publishers putting their foot in their face and their mouth and all over weird places that feet don't belong, we've got our. I've got our next article here.
Hold on, before we, I think one more thing about.
Okay, good. Sorry. All right, so man, I have such a good segue, Matt. All right, can we go to our next article?
Yes.
Yeah, back to the foot segue. They put their foot in all the places, Brian.
I know. All right, so speaking of which, this is not new news, but it's good. Well, I should say good news. It's not good when a comic publisher files for bankruptcy in already, a lot of people would argue, collapsing industry. Even Josh, I mean, you used to work for a comic shop, RIP, Kingdom of Comics. They're awesome. And, they cannot make it. There's comic shops that close every year, a couple open, 2 or 3 close. So, but you hate to see it. But this one I almost predicted. I want to say I'm gonna give it a 40% prediction because Matt knows we met one of the high guys in Aftershock or the president, maybe the operations guy. You remember Matt when we walked?
Yeah, his name wasn't important to me at the time, but I'm pretty sure it was somebody high up there.
Yeah, and we walked away, and I said, you know what? What they're doing is they're sucking the asshole of Hollywood producers. All they're doing is writing comics and stories for TV and movie as storyboards. And their business model is optioning. They don't give a shit about the comics. They buy who knows how many comics they sell, right?
They sell some good ones.
I understand, but no, I mean their chart numbers. Like if you
the
comic charts, there you see you wouldn't know who Aftershock was unless you were involved deep in comics.
Yeah, I have no idea what their volume is that they push.
Right. But so I was like, yeah, we could try to do for that or shoot for that, or we could make a comic and try to sell the comic because that's what we want to do. We want to tell a story in this medium, and we're not just, trying to write a storyboard for some producer. And that was one of his big partners, investors, writers, whatever you want to call it. And so I'm not saying I predicted this. I'm just saying I called that out. I was like, this is not, I don't think this is a sustainable business model. So,
Well, given the current climate of everything, it has been tough. I mean, we've seen what's gone on with Netflix, and we've seen what's gone on with some of these other, big production companies, being accused of not really paying their wages or not really paying out to the creators or whatnot. And, Aftershock kind of came in and had very similar, if not identical, problems to several of the other people in this industry. So it is a model, but, when people are canceling subscriptions and stuff, that money or the lack thereof is gonna roll downhill.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and that's exactly what we're talking about. I mean, Popverse gets this information from several other people, but the update number is 13 plus million to their biggest creditor. And well, I guess let's back up. So Aftershock filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which, if you're not familiar with Chapter 11, I have a handy little finance article from Lending Tree for you guys. So let's have a little economics course with Brian here. So Chapter 11 bankruptcy isn't like 7. You're not done. You're still, it's called reorganization bankruptcy. So what it basically means is that the company is still around. They're still operational, quote unquote. But what it does is basically forced consolidation, to where even though they're still operating, either a judge or lawyers or some third party arbitrator has come in and said, you will make good on your outstanding debts as much as you can and still operate. Whether you have to sell off assets, you have to stop, investing in, I guess for other companies, it would be like research and development. Like, you're going to address your biggest creditors right now. And so that's what this is. So they're not totally done.
Yeah, they can still recover from this.
They can still recover, but it's Chapter 11 isn't great. It's basically what you file when you haven't thrown your hands up in the air and said, okay, fuck it, we're done. Like, we're closing the doors, but it's close. It's like you're teetering on the edge. You're like, we're going to file for Chapter 11 because we're not doing great. So it's, I don't know. I don't know. It's not looking good for Aftershock. So
not ideal.
It's definitely, yeah. And then you have all the other things like you're talking about, Matt, where they had a bunch of freelancers that are not getting paid, which if you're an artist, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, but like artists like to get paid for their work, right?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. I was just making sure like people don't work for free. Okay. So yeah, like these artists are working
for your grandma or something.
Yeah, I don't know. But all these freelancers are working for these companies and not getting paid or getting paid like months late, where they're trying to secretly say, like I saw another article or release from one of the guys in this company where they were saying like, you'll get paid when we get paid. It's like, well, that's not.
Well, yeah, but at what point does late payment become non-payment?
Exactly. Well, and if we get paid, you get paid. That's not a commission structure. That's a revenue split. That's a totally different payment system.
Yeah, that's not what the contract. Yeah, the contracts aren't written. Yeah. Well, the contracts are written a certain way, and like the contracts that we write with our creators as well, it's we have to specify. Well, are you getting paid from before the release, after the release, like how much, all that stuff. So you can't just change when you decide to pay them because you ran out of money.
Right. And I understand that they're not like, they have priorities as a business, and when your whole business model relies on sucking up to Hollywood, and like you're going to make sure that the people you take care of are the people who I'm just gonna say butter your bread, like the Hollywood writers, your writers that you're trying to use to option the like you're gonna pay those guys first, and unfortunately the smaller guys who are doing covers, who are doing like interior pages and stuff, again, because like I was saying a few months ago in 2022, they're not really a comic company. Sorry, I mean
they're a movie grooming company.
Yeah, and so which there's nothing wrong with. I'm not saying that inherently is bad. I'm just saying that if you go work for them and they're just going to sell you a dream and you're aspiring to be involved in Hollywood or something, like you're kind of in the wrong industry. So,
well, two of the reasons that they cited, that Aftershock cited in their filing, was one. Some of the optioning deals were really dragging their feet, and their money wasn't coming through for those options. Another reason that they cited was of disruptions in their supply chain on their printing side, and so that's actually something that could affect us if we didn't have such an awesome print arrangement right now.
Yeah, I mean, well, but then they also were around during COVID and getting like all the government subsidized like PPP loans and stuff. So
I don't know which, and do we actually know if they received those?
I don't know if it's in this article, but another article I saw, they mentioned.
Yeah, there wasn't much of that to go around.
So, anyways, so yeah, it's there's sometimes there's stuff. Well, to that though, I'll say, of course, things take a long time to.
Look at that list of people they owe. Go back down.
Yeah, it's crazy. But like, you could be waiting on something to get option and actually go into production for a year. So that's a pretty dumb excuse because that makes you incompetent. Like, I've talked to a couple people about that, and they all know that it's a waiting game. So,
well, it sounds to me like they were just.
Holy shit.
It sounds to me like they were just running really lean with their money, you know, and they were used to their option contracts settling in a certain amount of time, and they were making promises with that money and spending the money before they get it, basically.
Yeah.
And then when those kinds of things started to slow down, as we know, like, you know, some of these streaming companies have obviously taken the movie industry by storm. Like Netflix and HBO and those, you know, streaming platforms. Obviously, there's been a lot of money going around in that, but they've had their problems recently too. So if Aftershock didn't pick up on that fact to realize that, hey, maybe those guys aren't doing so well, maybe we shouldn't spend their money before they give it to us, well, then this is exactly the kind of situation you can find yourself in.
Yeah, and then you have disruptions in the supply chain, and then boom, you have no money. I mean, holy, you were talking about earlier, look at this, to printers. How can you have, I mean, I don't think they're moving that much product out, 400,000. I don't know. I don't know, man. It's crazy.
That's their main printing company, or main printing debtor. That's a Canadian company.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I like to use them as an example of what not to do, you know, especially if you're in publishing or self-published like us. I look at these kind of guys as examples, you know, and in the future, if we grow to that size, like, how do you learn from their mistake? So if anything else, let this be a good learning lesson for people, for everybody, for artists who want to get paid for their work, you know, for people.
Well, they got it in writing. I mean, there's not much more a professional, you know, can do beyond getting it into a contract. That's the advice they're always given is, you know, if somebody makes you a promise, get it in writing. Well, they did, and then Aftershock basically defaulted.
Well, I mean, for all of our artists, especially commission artists, we pretty much pay them half up front and then half when upon delivery.
Yeah.
So you could do that too. I mean, if you know, if I'm working for somebody, I don't see anything for weeks, I'm just gonna say, hey, I'm not doing this for you anymore until I get payment or whatever. So
it's pretty scary.
Yeah.
Or you do just do like royalties or revenue split or that kind of thing.
Yeah, at least be honest, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a royalty deal, then the expectation is when we make money, you'll make money, and those revenue or royalty payment structure will be in writing too. You'll get it every quarter, you'll get it every month or every year, whatever the deal is.
Right. Like, we have people come to us, right? I mean, we talk about it, we joke about it sometimes, but they come to us and they're mainly looking for a job, right? And it would be really sleazy to talk to them like they're going to get paid, like, you know, commission, salary, whatever, and then just string them along. Like, what do we do up front? Sorry, no, we just brought on a staff artist. We could maybe hire you for a cover. Like, we don't have the resources to bring on a bunch of writers and artists. If you want to bring something to us to publish it, and you believe in it, and you want to sell it, and we'll sell it, you know, you'll get royalties for all the sales. But that's basically, what is that saying? When we make money, you make money, or we're going to make money for you. We don't tell people, hey, all right, yeah, just do this thing for me, do that thing.
Yeah, I would hate to be in that position where, you know, you run out of money and then you have to tell somebody, well, his paycheck is more important than your paycheck.
Right.
So
yeah. It's like, I'm pretty sure the executives at Hollywood could probably go a few days without food, but I can't.
Yeah.
Or my kids can't. Like, or my family can't. So I feel like that's just such a messed up thing to do. It's like, definitely wouldn't be taking care of them first.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these artists and freelancers, if they're more, I feel like they're more artists than writers, so I just keep saying artists, but creators, they you know, they're so convinced of this dream, like of going into Netflix or Hollywood, or you know, becoming a star and getting paid to fly across the world in conventions and all this and that and fame, and they lose track of the simple fact that, like, you know, they can't afford to pay their bills. Like, you don't have a job. So
yeah, the industry just chews people up and spits them out sometimes. So yeah, I know Netflix is getting worse about that. And the amount of shows they cancel, like, is going up and up and up just constantly.
oh yeah, plus that's just not even considering,
Even if they're doing well, I think they cancel them just because.
Yeah, they said they're not doing well.
Just like their model.
Yeah, they said, like, they actually came out with an article or a statement where they said, well, none of the shows that we've canceled we would consider successful. And I'm like, what? Like,
then what do they consider their success rate to be?
right?
Not getting canceled.
I think it's basically like Wednesday, Stranger Things, stuff like that, like record breaking.
Yeah.
If it doesn't break the last show's record, then it's not good enough. And it's like, well, if that's the new model for getting into a studio, then I'll just start my own damn studio, and I'll make my own productions, and that's it. If I got to hire animators myself and make films, then I guess that's what I'm going to do, because better that than to build a team, go to pitch it, get accepted, and then, you know, work hard for that dream, make it as cool as you can, and then it does well, but not well enough in their eyes, and they're just like,
Well, as long as the contracts are not in any way predatory, like, you know, a series does okay on Netflix, gets canned or whatever, you know, if they could just go to another platform and sell their same, you know, get funded for a new season or something, like, I don't see anything wrong with that. You know, if Netflix...
Why do I feel like they're not structured where you can do that?
Yeah, it seems like Netflix might not option you for that.
They're probably also structured where it's like, oh, the 4th year you get all your money, and then they just cancel them after the 3rd year.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. I don't know. I haven't read any of the contracts that they've had there.
Yeah, it just
But
seems like
if anybody out there is listening and wants to option Hungry Heroes for a movie or a TV show, like, I'm willing to talk. Like, let's talk. I'll come to the table.
Well, not option, shopping list. That's what I've learned. That's the lingo.
Okay.
So a shopping list is like, you have, I guess, gives us more power to dictate how much creative control we have over Hardly Heroes. So if the studio out there wants to option Lich in the Kitchen, we've already got a pilot for you. There you go. But yeah, I would not just option Hardly Heroes out to
No,
anyone. Yeah, like
happening.
option.
They can butcher it.
Yeah, so they can become the next Netflix Cowboy Bebop or Death Note, or you know.
Oh
whatever.
yeah. Did you see that the creator of Cowboy Bebop posted, and he's like, I watched it. That is not Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, pretty bad.
Yeah, you kind of hope you get the stamp of approval from the guy who made it. But if you're gonna make
it's like crazy how that even happens. Like, how do you? I mean,
money, that's it. People want money, and so they're willing to get desperate. They're like, you know what does well, guys? The animes. We should make the animes into something new. And then they're like, let's bring a director on who doesn't even watch the show, and he'll do something real good with it, I bet, because he's so good. The guy's like, we need to be innovative. We're not just going to try and make the series what it was. And it's like, but that's what everyone wants.
well, so that just goes to show you, people who create things, you need more control don't give up control over your stuff, because that's the only way that the guy who literally created Cowboy Bebop can turn around and have such little control. He watches a show and is just like, why did they slap my name on this pile of garbage? Like, if it's completely unrecognizable, the guy had no control of, like, it's the studio and then they sold it off to whoever, you know, and yeah, it's just them and their, I don't know, they're friends. Like, we were talking about this before, but like Mindy Kaling, that lady who just like ruined the Scooby Doo.
Did Vilma?
Yeah, with Velma.
Really butchered it.
It's not even close.
It's not Velma.
It's not even Velma. But like some fucking whoever she's hangs out with at these parties or whatever was just like, oh, here, Mindy, just spin a wheel and pick a franchise we need to like dust off and pull out of the closet. Oh,
it's like, do a show you want to do, and then we'll just give you a random IP for you to use so that we can get you this show.
Yeah, it's just like,
guys, I just want to make a really angry character who's really kind of obnoxious
really
and angry at everything. And it's like, guys, can I do Velma? But I don't see why not.
No, not just angry, like repulsive.
Yeah,
Like,
well, that's like, what is it they say? It's like a lot of people say it's like you have to, these days it seems like certain characters are just written as unlikable. Like there is nothing redeemingly likable about them. It's like you are irritating and nobody wants to relate to you in the story, and you're the main character. It's like the only people who can relate to Velma are like that stereotypical Karen vibes.
Yeah, I guess. I have a confession. I've seen a little bit of that show. Because sometimes if it's really
okay.
that bad,
I hate myself too.
Yeah. but the people who wrote that show, they do hate themselves. So they spend 30% of the time shitting on themselves. So like, not only are they bitter, angry, and they're just, nobody likes them. When you look at it, nobody likes them, but they even admit it. Like in the show, they'll make, I guess, what they call humor. Like they'll make jokes and quote unquote witty observations about themselves, and you're like, that's not funny. Like that's just sad. Like, why would you think about it?
You probably saw it where they changed Shaggy to what's his name? Norman or
Norbit?
Something like that. And so the issue is that Shaggy's name actually is supposedly that in the thing. His name's not really Shaggy, obviously, but
wow.
The whole thing about his story is that he's essentially, all his behavior and mannerisms make you think he's high all the time. Yeah. It was like a subtle nod, and that's what his character is. And so you literally took all of that out, put a guy who's a different race in a shirt that's just the same color, and you change. You're like, we're just gonna say that he's Shaggy, and we're gonna point out the fact that anytime drugs are mentioned, he's like, which I do not do because it's like what. So on the nose, it's so bad.
But that's a playful reimagining, okay?
Oh yeah, sure. It shows real love for the source material,
right? And he for sure doesn't do drugs, but the people who write that show like have the weirdest fetishes and just have never gotten like the way they write that show. It's like, okay, we get it. Like you want to watch these women have as a heterosexual masculine presenting transgender woman, like it is very weird to be saying that they just want to watch girls make out the whole show, like, and minor girls in high school too, which is kind of weird.
I feel like if you're really upset about objectifying girls, Mindy really went hard with that.
Right, exactly.
She went real hard.
Yeah, to the point where it's such a caricature. People, I guess if we're gonna get into politics, like people on the left were like, this is there were articles people were writing where they're like, Mindy Kaling is like a what was it? Like a secret right wing, like
it's a false flag.
No way.
Yeah.
I saw some people saying that the show was a false flag.
Yeah. Well, I also heard some people who were like, "This show is so bad, we think that there's a theory out there that it was written to be bad on purpose."
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
yeah, it was so bad because it was so bad and so so humiliating to watch that the people who would probably agree with a lot of the sentiments that share, like Mindy Kaling share, or like, nah, this is terrible, and you're destroying like a beloved childhood cartoon. It's just, it crosses the line.
Well, I just think at the core of it, it's like, if you want to make something that's that different, then make a new character. Yeah. Like, just make a new character.
Well, then no one will watch it.
I've never no one will watch it, exactly.
Yeah. I've never liked the story of Scooby-Doo. I've never liked the characters. I've never liked the old Cartoon Network, cartoons. I've never liked that series ever. Maybe secretly she doesn't either. Maybe that's actually like the thing.
Don't touch it. Go make something else. Like, make a new mystery team.
Destroy it.
That's the weird thing. Why would you spend so much time, money, and effort to fucking ruin something you don't like? Like, it's so spiteful. It's so bitter.
Well, you know what I would say?
Be that spiteful.
Yeah,
I know, but it's just like,
if I got paid to be that spiteful, I might. I mean, who knows? Who knows what I'd do?
Yeah, well, I don't know if you get paid to be spiteful, but if anything, just do like Ghostbusters did with their sequel.
I'm kidding, of course. Like,
just do all the kids. Make it so it's their descendants or kids who are, because the show was around long enough ago that you could have said that they were Shaggy and everybody's kids.
You said they're grandkids by now.
Grandkids.
Yeah, whatever. You could have made it their grandkids, and they could have just been angsty and stupid and everything, and people would have probably like hated it less because they're like, at least it's not them.
But gosh, that would imply that they're creative.
Yeah, I know.
But you know what's
like, have the original characters there as like
I'm convinced
that
a job
the haters could kind of like channel their hatred through.
I've always joked that a job should exist where this very casual person should sit in on board meetings where these ideas are discussed with just like a stick. And then as soon as somebody's like, guys, we'll make Sonic, but with human teeth, he just gets up out of his chair and starts walking towards you with the stick. And you're like, never mind. And he just sits back down.
Average guy idea auditor.
Yeah, like he could be in flip-flops and a t-shirt, and he does not belong in the room at all, but he's a fan of all these things. And so, like, if you try and mess it up, he just gets up out of the chair like, don't you do it. Don't. Come up with something different.
Unfortunately,
creativity, guys.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's the opposite. Like, the one guy involved that's like, what are you doing? This is completely fucking over the source material. They're like, oh, yeah, hey, great point. Hey, did you know that we have this sweet catering in the other room? If you go over there, you can go like hang out, and then just come back in like an hour, and then they shoot the whole movie, and the guy's like in 3 buildings over, and he's like, wait, where is everybody? And they just left, or they straight up fire him, or they force him off the project.
That too. They put him on some B-list thing, but it's just a bummer because, like I said, I'm not aggressively like. I think if I see this stuff, I just get sad because I'm like, why would you even bother? Like, go through all the trouble and spend all the money to make something that's just so bad when you could have just labeled it anything but Scooby-Doo and people would have accepted it.
Right.
Well, it might have been like, it's not my cup of tea, but at least it's not Scooby-Doo. Like, change the character designs a little, and it pretty much would have been a different. You could have been like, you could have called it a Scooby-Doo for a new generation, and then it would be bad, but at least you'd be like, whatever.
Well, that is what they do.
Yeah.
They say this is updated for modern audiences.
No, but what I'm saying is saying it's like a spiritual successor to Scooby-Doo instead of an actual Scooby-Doo, because then that the anger would not be there. It would just be annoyed now and not angry. Well, because they stomped on Scooby-Doo and he's like, row, row, and he just stepped on him. It's just people got mad. Because they're very defensive of nostalgia, So I get it, but
yeah, it's kind of like, and this is why I love She-Hulk. I mean, I've never watched that show and I never will, but I love it conceptually because it like Velma is really bad, right? Like it's really bad to the point where basically nobody likes it. It's got like a 4% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. It's like the lowest you could get. But She-Hulk
apparently broke a record. Like bad.
Oh, it's so bad. Yeah, it don't get bad. But people recognize it's bad because it's just bad. But She-Hulk, there's still a lot of people who like that show. Like, like, but to me, it's that same mentality. It's mostly those same kind of people that are writing the show and acting, but they literally break the fourth wall to look through the camera and talk at you. So well, it's like
that was kind of in her character though in the comics, slightly, not as much as like Deadpool, but it was there at least. The precedent was there.
It was completely lazily done. But my point is, they took that opportunity instead of doing something creative and interesting with it to break the fourth wall to look at the audience. Like, their villains of that show were online internet trolls. Like,
they're making fun of the people who they knew would get annoyed by the show.
Yeah, and so, like,
except they decided who the internet trolls were.
Well, of course, they're projected.
Basically men and men.
Yeah. Bro, but Josh, you said it perfectly. They're doing it to annoy people. Like, they're doing it to piss people off. Like,
they have the budget for that.
Yeah, but they're doing it to spite people. Like, that's kind of the summary of the theme of these shows, this conversation. They do it because they don't like the people and they're just getting back at them. Like, it's
expensive to get back at them.
Oh yeah, and they're definitely not losing that either. Like, they're really showing us internet trolls.
Yeah,
like the fans, the toxic
the mouse
fans.
is filling their coffers, so it's okay.
Right.
He's like, oh boy, keep making up mortgage. It's great.
Oh boy. Give me my fucking money.
Yeah.
So I guess in conclusion to this whole topic, if you're an artist who never got paid by Aftershock, we pay our artists. You know, if you're looking for a gig, you know, you want to do a cover, like, you might want to publish your own stuff.
Like, segue. That was great.
Thank you. You know, hashtag Shattermare Comics pays their artists, so it's artists. So just saying, just hit us up, give me a call. You know, I'm always up. I'm DTP, down to publish.
Down to pay you?
Down to pay. Insert your own P word.